So we're just going to feed back a couple of the sort of maybe a couple of highlights. So for our group, there was so much said really, probably very similar to yours. But one of the things was, it's not for me, ... but I have no choice. And so people talked about different personas that maybe it's that their industry now expected it of them, or maybe that actually they can't have a parking permit unless they're using it online, or they can't apply for benefits. And I think there were real mixed opinions around the room about whether that forced learning was useful or not as a hook to get people in. I think it definitely meant that there were a lot of resource issues for centres, but for some people it was a useful way to get in. So some of the things about what worked and what didn't, people talked about the fact that actually before you start selling digital, it's about understanding what the motivation and the task is at hand, and taking the time out to do that means a better outcome for those types of learners. Going out to learners, someone said that most learners don't actually come to the centre, so that made a really big difference. Having something that's ongoing, not a one-off intervention. But overarchingly, all of this required time, and there was a real recognition that with that user group, it takes a lot more time and resource.
Thank you. So I'm going to try and say everything on my bit of paper in the next 2 minutes. Technophobe, intergenerational gaps. So perhaps it's parents that thinks that it's just for youngsters and not for them. You've got a lack of relevance. Until people feel they've got the need to do it, they won't do it. So that might not be a very good thing. It might be a trigger point, an emergency, not a very nice thing that's made them do it. But then you've got those on the other side, as Havsa said, those that are forced to do it. So by Job Centre Plus, a few kind of not great things about Job Centre Plus, people that have got no choice. So back to the older people, there's fear. And a lack of skill around the group as well. So that might be literacy, those with English as a second language, and shame and embarrassment. It's not for me, not knowing where to start and feel really ashamed about it. So what works? Finding a hook. So not just about transacting, it's like things that interest people. And it's about social. So we need to break down the fears and develop trust with those people. And in the community, things that work could be some good links with schools, community hubs, services that are embedded in the community, so referrals in and out, good partnership links, which I think a lot of people mentioned in our group. Hope that sums everything up, okay.
Thank you. It's horrible going last because you guys have covered everything. But we said it much more articulately in our group. Everything that you guys said, we kind of covered off as well. Some of the other things that we sort of mentioned was that trust is important. We're talking about digital things, but actually human-to-human relationships is what drives all this stuff, a bit like what Helen mentioned this morning, and going where those people are. So it's not really much to do with your physical centre as an online centre. It's about the incredible people who are in that centre, and if we can get them even closer to the people, that would be a nice hook to get them in. There's a lot of stuff around embarrassment, like the world has moved on so much, it's now getting to an embarrassing stage when I have to say I don't know what a mouse is, or why isn't that a rodent, that sort of stuff. And then, yeah, so our things was a lot about people, and we did a good conversation around, we as Good Things Foundation very often say, a life change is a good point to do digital. So you've lost your job, you need to go and use universal credit, let's do digital. But for some people, that is, I've just lost my job, I need to sign on to a new benefit that I don't know. Now you're putting digital in front of me. That's 3 big blockers for me now. So being sensitive to that is quite an important thing. And then we spoke about snooker on YouTube for a little bit. So yeah, I'd just like to say to everyone in all 3 groups, thank you very much for your energy and your enthusiasm in that. We're going to use all the feedback that you gave us, if you gave consent, to inform our research. So thank you very much. It was really valuable. Thank you.